Welcome to the third ever episode of Inside the Box. This one we've already had a little bit of a tussle with Chris and Vitor, back in the swing of things, good as usual.
I thought we were going to introduce ourselves.
Yes, we can introduce ourselves again. For those of you who've been tuning in, or those of you who have not, I am Chris Ferrante. To my right, to my left,
I'm Chris Corto,
and I am Vitor, the stat guy De Silva. And coming in with all the stats. Sorry,
he is our
way
stat
to kill
man.
the forward motion of the episode, Vitor.
Forward motion, like Brad Marchand's penalty or a shootout shot last year. Boom.
Yeah,
Tough times. But yes, the two of these guys were just having a little bout talking about things. But speaking of bouts and things like that, one of the most chaotic games in recent memory, was the Bruins-Capitals matchup at TD Garden this past week, where the Bruins had won 5-1. However, at a cost, as Brandon Carlo was injured. Tom Wilson subject to the penalty, the hit, no penalty called on the play, and he was eventually given a 7-game suspension by the league
for boarding.
And he lost about $300,000, I think, right? In money, $300,000, I think, from what I saw.
Yeah.
And then as a repeat offender, and Carlo is now released from the hospital, but he's going to be week to week, and that's a huge loss for the Bruins, because I've been talking about it, I think on the first episode, I'm a huge Carlo fan and stuff, so seeing him go down really sucks, because his first 2 seasons in the league, he got injured in the final month where he couldn't make playoffs both those years, whether it be from I think it was a concussion first time around from Ovi, I think.
They're all from the Capitals.
And then it was Panthers, actually, with the broken leg. And so, or it was vice versa, one of the two.
He plays what I've noticed, he plays every single game, and then it's the last game he gets hurt. He's at 81 games played, and they're like, boom,
yep.
Nah, we're not going to let you.
Yeah,
He's putting it on the line in that last regular season game every time, I guess.
Yeah, and the one time, his first ever playoff performance, we went to the Cup final against the Blues, and he played extremely well and stuff. And I think he's coming into his own, and we were talking about last time, I think he's just overshadowed by McAvoy and stuff, but he's really becoming a really strong shutdown defender. And so it's really tough to see him down, especially now with where the Bruins are at, with Kevin Miller kind of out. I don't know what the term of his shelf life is right now, but he is out. And then Lozon is still 3 weeks out or something?
Yeah, another great solid Bruins defenseman. Kind of, again, coming onto his own. Not really, we weren't expecting much out of him. We were like, okay, he's going to be kind of like a bottom, maybe a second, third pair. Obviously not first. And then, what, is he playing first, or is it with Zaborowski?
He was playing with Mac a good amount.
Yeah, that's crazy, though.
Yeah.
Out of the blue.
And so now we have the Grizzlick and McAvoy, the old BU pairing, because they played together in BU on the same D pair and stuff, which is just wild to think of too. But thoughts on the aftermath of that game? Obviously, we saw a lot of grittiness. We saw the Bruins kind of take revenge on the non-penalized call, which we can debate the actual hit itself in a minute. But obviously, Bruins responded much like they did way back in 2011 with the high hit on Nathan Horton, scoring a lot of goals. Marchand went off, I believe he had 2. And then obviously Frederick, always in the midst of things, getting a nice little cup check by Ovechkin and stuff. So I don't know where we want to start with this whole game, but either of you can hop in, because I know Chris here, his to the left of me, his second favorite team is the Capitals, and Vitor, I know, isn't too keen on them. So let's see.
I love them.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love playing against them.
Why don't you go first, Vitor?
So I think it's only right if we start from the first of 2 games, just so we could have a little bit more context. But obviously, we know the how Tom Wilson is and how he plays his game. Great skater, great player, great shooter. But again,
very physical,
true power forward.
Yes, yeah. He has that Milan Lucic, but I think a little bit more skill.
Yeah, if you ever, sorry to cut you off, but if you ever hear interviews from him, he says that his favorite player growing up and, the player who he tries to emulate most in his game is Milan Lucic. So
didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I think the Bruins play the Caps 4 more times, I believe.
Yeah,
we're 2-2 with them now.
Yeah, it's 8 games. We already played them 4 times.
This is just
I can't wait.
The best out of the whole like division so far. Thanks for Bruins opponents and entertaining games. The Philly games, a couple of them were really intense too. Actually,
well, they're entertaining, but not for the same reasons.
Yeah, it's like that's just like late minute comeback heroics or stuff, and then this is just like the full-fledged big bad Bruins kind of era stuff where it's just like hard hitting, clutch goals and all that, and it's like the whole like kind of Swiss Army knife, like well-rounded thing.
Yeah, and going back to the first game, a big highlight that we've been seeing, Trent Frederick, number 11, great player. You might not see him as points right now, but if you just see it from the intangibles, this is a man. He's 22 years old, like around our age. He might have 3-4 points. It doesn't matter. I love seeing Frederick play, and he's gonna learn. He's gonna learn within time, and just him throwing the body, playing solid, especially in the offensive zone. He has that Coyle protection, not up to Coyle's level, but he's again 22 years old. He'll learn.
Yeah, he the first game I saw him play, that game against the Jets, I just immediately knew I liked him as a young player, because you don't see a lot of what he's got coming from a lot of these young guys coming out. He came out in his first game, a push came to shove for him, and I forget who he fought.
It was Brandon Tanev.
Yeah, and his first NHL game, and a guy who's been there for I don't know how many years Tanev's been there, but I mean it's you're going up your very first game, some guy's giving you the works, and you're giving it to him right back, and then you're in a fight, and that kind of stuff doesn't scare him at all. And I feel like every hockey team has its own kind of role players. You have your skill guys, you have your leaders, and sometimes that ties into each other, I feel. But I feel like one of the most important parts of a hockey team, still to this day, even in regards to the new era of the NHL and goal scoring and skill and all this stuff, I feel like having that big, strong presence, that guy who's going to protect your guys, who's going to make sure no one's going to mess with them, is probably one of the important parts of making a team.
Mm-hmm. And that just goes straight to psychology. I mean, we take it for granted, or what we see, but I feel like the Bruins right now have a couple of players on their team who just do not care who the other player is, how big they are. They will get in their head. They will fight them. They'll drop the gloves, anything for their teammate. And this goes back, I think, to the days of Gregory Campbell, Paille, Sean Thornton. Oh, this is giving me goosebumps.
Line.
Don't forget, going all the way back, Terry O'Reilly.
Oh, yeah.
He was so fearless.
Yes.
So fearless that he went up in the stands to go fight some fans.
Oh. I mean, we can't also forget. I mean, when you're talking power forward stuff, relating to Wilson, granted, this guy didn't really have, from what I recall, from highlights and stuff, as many cheap shot hits, but just a guy who was a constant fighter and a constant goal scorer. Cam Neely, that's your definition of a power forward and stuff, and the way Wilson's built and stuff, it kind of reminds me a little of that. Obviously, he takes some Wilson to me is the other Marchand of the East Conference. It's you would love him if he was on your team, but you absolutely despise him when he's not. And I actually grew to like him a little bit more because I thought he had kind of cleaned up his game a little bit. His last bad hit was against Zach Aston Reese of Pittsburgh, where he got a 3-game suspension for really high head hit where he busted his jaw and gave him a concussion. It was clearly a high hit where he could have played lower, but he intentionally went a little higher. And so that's where I was kind of away from him for a bit. I was yeah, I kind of don't like that part. But then he kind of cleaned up, much as Marchand has with some of his little antics. And obviously that hit just being against my player. From the replay, if you look closely, as much as I love our Nesson announcers, sometimes they see with their hearts over their eyes.
Yeah.
And I did see Wilson did hit a little bit of, actually with his own kind of chest neck area. He kind of got Carlo's elbow first, then kind of shoulder, chest, and then it sent the head into the boards, which is he came from a long way out still. If you watch the live time of that thing, he was coming from the dot, the face-off dot. And he slowed down so it wasn't charging, but he was intending on going for a hit the whole time.
Yeah.
And he could have done a hip check. He could have done a little bit lower of a hit, but he purposely kind of went for a high shoulder check, and because they're both big bodies, it kind of like it led them both kind of going up and stuff, and so it was inevitable.
Before you keep getting into the details of the hit or like our perspectives, did you have anything else to say, Vitor, on what you were talking about earlier?
I am not sure, but I know that I watched the player safety video explaining everything, and I thought it was a great video kind of explaining what was happening. And one thing that I noticed was just the Carlos' side of vision compared to Tom Wilson's. If you were to look at Carlos' point of view, there was kind of no chance that he had a vision at Wilson coming at him. And I think there should have been a penalty called without a doubt, just because even if he did hit shoulder first, the way that Carlo grabbed his head was so slow, and that's scary stuff, and you don't want to see that. And I think a lot of Capital fans I was seeing on Twitter saying, "Oh, he didn't deserve a penalty at all," and I'm like, well, if it was your player and you saw a player go down, it wasn't like a fast fall. It was him grabbing his head, falling. That's scary.
Yeah,
and then getting cross-checked at the end by Vrana and stuff.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think one thing that's really tough, I was reading an article today about it. Unfortunately, there has been a lack of consistency with the NHL players, like safety union and stuff, because, I mean, I'm sure by now you guys saw that massive hit Connor Murphy had on Adam Chernak of the Lightning, right?
Yeah.
That was full force open ice, really high hit. He didn't get any suspension out of it. And so it's if anything, some people argue that was a little bit more ruthless than the Wilson one, because it was off the boards and looked a lot faster and stuff. And so people are mad that has nothing, or others are yeah, that's how it should be, and neither Wilson should have got anything either. And so it seems granted, I didn't see the game. I don't know if Chernak left the game or not, but someone was arguing, I think, on the article or in the comments that depending on certain players, if someone immediately goes down with an injury or leaves the game fully and doesn't come back, that factors a lot more into the suspension, which I don't know if that's fair in a way, because it could be a dangerous hit and someone just gets lucky that they're able to play in the game, or someone might just have a freak accident where it's a less violent hit, but they're sent to the hospital, and stuff. And so,
yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, that hit.
Well, these guys check out the hit on Vitor's computer. I feel like I'll weigh in on my view of the Tom Wilson hit. I feel like it's really tough because Wilson does have a history of being a dirty-ish player when he dirty-ish more recently, dirty earlier on.
Yeah.
But to give the guy credit, for the first, I don't know how many years of his career as a Capital, he was the fourth line right wing, I think. They didn't really have a spot for him. He's 6'5" and he's 250. I think he's 6'5", 250. If you could,
stat guy.
Yeah, stat guy.
Stat guy.
We need an edit right here. We need an edit.
Edison
need an animation.
Edison. Stat guy.
Vitor's face with stat guy written across the forehead,
or a Superman thing.
But he's 6'5", 250.
He's actually 6'4", 220. Yeah.
Hey, still a big boy, regardless. But like I said, your fourth line, all your experience in the NHL up to the point where they move you up to Ovi and Backstrom's line is you're going to go out there and your job is to just grind it out, hurt people, get the puck. You're basically our force of nature on our team. And when they move him up to that first line, he becomes more of a little bit more of a skill player, gets a little bit of a handle for goal scoring. The potential is there, obviously. He's a great hockey player. But the hit on Carlo, obviously Carlo isn't really able to protect himself. Yeah. He's going to make the play on the puck, which is another point that I saw, which is for some debate, he's going to make a play on the puck, and when you put yourself out there like that, you leave yourself open. Is argument I see a lot. But It's tough because I feel like when Wilson plays very physical, he puts it all out there. I feel like when he's going to go in for the hit, he's trying to take you out of the play so that his teammates and his line mates can try to make a play out of it. And taking a guy out like Carlo, maybe I'm not taking out in the sense of like taking you out of the game. Obviously, I'm talking about taking you out of the play momentarily with trying to do good physical play. And like I said, he's 6'4", 220, all muscle. He does those boxing classes. I don't know if you've ever seen those, but he does those like crazy boxing workouts and whatever.
Of course.
But it's hard because, like I said, that's like his style. It's what he's trying to do. I believe he was fully trying to do the right thing, and I don't think he was going after Carlo. I think like he was just trying to get a little bit more body contact, not aiming for his head, not trying to take him out like that. But just led to an unfortunate situation. And it's not like he like out. I mean, he knew it was coming. He had guys coming after him for all the rest of the night. Fought Tenorti. Really great fight.
What a moment for a first Bruins game, right?
On side note, I really like the Tenorti pickup. I like having a guy like that on our team who can
big body, 6'6",
big body, not afraid to, in his second game, stick up for his teammates who he's just been playing with for under a week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So. And
like you were saying, like the whole sticking up for teammates, like every single time there's a little scuffle in front of the net, he was like there.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the hockey kind of community. It's like, it doesn't matter if you've been on that team for 13 years or like 2 days. The guys literally stand up for their teammates like they've been doing it for forever. And it's cool to see when you see like it happening like that. And obviously after Bergeron's aggressive like one-timer into like that empty side, it felt so good also, seeing Chara on the ice getting beat by it with how Bruins fans were feeling in that moment. And then also to see the captain swing by, go to the penalty box, and tap on the glass for Tenorti to like give the nod. Like that's just true captain material right there. And you just love to see that with like the recognition between the longest tenured Bruin to the newest tenured Bruin at that point in time. So it's just really cool in that sense. But yeah, like Frederick, as we were talking about earlier too, like he's making that impact too. Like it's only like his essentially first like year with the team of consistency, because he was back and forth a few times, and then obviously a couple years back the whole first game. But he's like the one right now that's linked, that a lot of GMs around the league, they're saying if the Bruins are trying to make a splash, a lot of the leagues around the teams around the league, they're actually going to ask about Frederick. It apparently seems even over a guy like DeBrusque, because they really like the skill set and how this kid's already developing so quickly.
I would never.
I never would. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying what I heard. Like everyone's reaching out, asking about that and stuff. And obviously that's dumb. It makes sense that they're asking for him. They're being smart.
Yeah.
But that's the guy you don't want to trade if you're a Bruin right now. And also, we can get into it momentarily in a second with
I just had one question for Vitor though.
Yeah.
Yep. You need a stat?
No, you said there were two guys on the Bruins that are willing to kind of drop it and go fight guys like whenever you need to.
Yep.
You got Frederick and who? Who else would you say?
I mean, I think
Kevin Miller.
You got a couple actually.
Oh, yeah.
Now that we got Tenorti, Frederick, Wagner,
Richie.
Yeah.
Richie, not as much, but he's still. Oh,
Richie's just like an angry bear. Just don't piss him off.
He looks like he looks like an overweight child. I'm sorry, Richie.
What?
I'm gonna pull
looks
up.
like.
Excuse me. Are you shaming Nick Ritchie?
No, I'm not saying like overweight. Ritchie. I'm just saying like he looks like he hasn't hit puberty.
But
he's very baby faced.
He is.
Yes.
Much like McAvoy, but even a little bit more so, I'd say. But
well, McAvoy's like a different case because McAvoy's got the face of a child, but like the hairline of a
of a
40-year-old man.
Yeah, I think my brother and I and some of our friends back home, when I was home like for one of the weekends or during a week or whatever, watching the games, I think the nickname we all picked up was just calling him Thick Richie instead of Nick Ritchie, and then they kept turning around like Big Dick Nick Ritchie, Thick Big Dick Nick Ritchie.
Yeah.
But the guy's been playing amazing for us, obviously too. I'm really happy for his turnaround.
Hey, host,
and like,
can we Can we? Can I screen share? Can you give me permission to screen share?
Oh, let's see if I
Don't
can.
give him any fucking position.
What are you showing the picture of Carlo or not?
No,
Carlo,
Richie.
I can try real quick. If not, I can just have Edison.
Edison, cut me out swearing.
Edison,
Can you let that simmer?
he can probably add the graphic because I'm struggling right now figuring out how to do the
But
participant
I'm gonna
allowance.
Edison, just cut like up into the moment we're about to screen share. Just make it really awkward, like a really sharp cut.
All right, that should work now, Vitor,
Oh,
so you can
yes.
show you a thing. All right,
Let's look at that. Let's look at that face.
Oh my god.
I'll hide my thing. Hang on, real quick. All right, now you're good.
Boy, look at his face. I'm sorry, this is off topic, but we need a little bit of lightheartedness.
No, but the guy he's he does look like a big kid, like like
He kind of looks like Chris there in that picture that
Hey,
you
Chris.
the Ducks
Yeah.
one.
Let's look at Nick Ritchie's stats though. This is
Look
a
at those stats.
stat guy right
Look
here.
at those stats.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like when he's on the ice, sometimes he gives a look like he's just confused and lost.
Yeah.
But
All the CT,
much like
man.
you know who I would always seek is I watch Pittsburgh a lot too, or even just national when they were in the playoffs and stuff. A guy who looked like good player and stuff, but like I always felt bad laughing. But a guy who kind of had like a similar kind of like a funny face whenever he was on the ice was Ole Mata. He always looked like he had like marbles in his mouth when he was like
Let's
kind of
get up here.
skating. He always looked like he was like trying to say something but couldn't.
Well,
He was like, "Oh."
you already know that I think Anze Kopitar looks like he's a tired
Yeah.
all the time.
He looks like a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is from Slovenia.
Vitor, can you play that Cardi? You know the one.
I will. Keep talking. I will find it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anze Kopitar, Derek Carr, black and silver uniforms. Both look very tired.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, we
tired
threw that graphic up on the
Yeah.
first thing that people were laughing at.
What if we had walk on music and like in baseball, and then as soon as Kopitar hits the ice, it's just
It's that song.
Vamp Anthem.
Oh, that'd be perfect. What would Richie be?
Something like Born in the USA. Well, he wasn't born in the USA, so
No, I feel like it's something different than that. Like, I don't know. We'd have to figure out who.
Ba, 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 da, 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 da.
let's look at
What's that, Santa
let's look at
baby?
Nick Ritchie's stats.
No, it's the Vine where the dude follows larger
Say
people
it, say
in the grocery store with a tenor saxophone.
Oh, that's funny.
And then the guy turns around and goes, "Stop following me!"
Following fat people.
Oh no, but speaking of music, did you guys see the clip the other day? It was on like one of the Instagram accounts. A segment to a sneak peek at the new Behind the Bee episode. Frederick had no clue what the Bruins song was.
Oh
Like
my
he
God.
didn't realize "Dirty Water" was the Bruins song, and Bergeron was just kind of like, "Yeah, it's all right. It's not like you were supposed to know already or anything. It's not like it says Boston in the name. Pretty much, it was hysterical." He's like, "Yeah, I don't know." Like he's like, "What's that?" It was during the outdoor game. They had him mic'd up. It was just hysterical in that sense. Kind of funny.
Or Dave Pasternak with
Barbie Girl song.
Yo, you guys make me miss the Bobby Girl song, so I'm upset. Now I
Yeah,
go.
we were in the locker room and I was listening to the Barbie Girl song, and then you called me out and make me do the interview, and then I missed the Barbie Girl song. Who knows what song is going to be on when I go back?
That was like spot on, dude. My favorite part. I took a I don't think I can have Edison put it on as a graphic because it's probably copyrighted and stuff. And
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to cut out the whole Cardi part.
yeah, we probably will. I'll make him do another organ thing, or whatever. But
play his own organ.
this
Just
he
put,
he would. But I took this clip. It's literally just him like skating by, just like looking all chill.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
during the game, just
The goat.
he literally just has so much fun
Looks
out
like
there, and you
Macho
can
Man
tell.
Randy Savage.
But yeah,
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Favorite player in the league, hands
But-
down.
oh, most entertaining right now. But getting back to what we talked about like a little bit earlier with like
Back to the South.
Richie,
never
with
mind.
Frederick, both how they're really like surprising with their performances too.
Yeah.
When we talk about how a lot of teams are going to be asking for him, it's a no-brainer. You don't trade him right now unless somehow you were going to get like one of the best wingers in their prime. Like that's the only way, and that would still take me a lot to think about
and
it.
Who is one of the best available wingers in their prime available right now too? Like,
So
that's something to think about.
Yeah, and the weird thing, I think I sent you guys over the text. There's a weird article someone brought up, and it made a decent point, but it's still kind of a fever dream. Taylor Hall could be the one that's actually moved out of Buffalo. Yes, he's interested in a contract extension, but I mean, look at they're tanking, and like, if anything, it's like if there's ever a time for the Bruins to like kind of go for a rental player and develop their top six even more, if you can make the contract cap space work in this, and like it would be too. I don't think it could work anyway, just because you'd have to go way too much for them to retain half his salary.
Yeah.
But the fever dream of having the perfection line and then Krejci with Taylor Hall and then either Studnicka or like Richie on the second line with Krejci would be like a really powerful top six and stuff, but just not realistic.
Hey, Stack Guy, can you look up Taylor Hall's age for me?
I think he's 28, 29. 20, he's 30 now.
Probably.
I think he's like on the verge of it or just turned it.
He's 29.
Check when his birthday is. I think it's later this month.
November 14th.
Oh, okay.
So later this.
I'm not sure if you want to like
Look up his stats.
Yeah,
He's
look
got,
up,
like,
look up his stats anyway.
One goal, right? 2 goals?
Yeah, I think he has 1 goal through however many games they've played. Like, what is it?
2
close
goals,
to 20?
12 assists, 14 points in 23 games. Again, like
The
you're
big
not
three of
playing-
Buffalo right now are terrible.
You're not playing for a great franchise.
No, you're not.
It's-
They're not really playing for anything. I don't
They're
think
not
they
really a
want to play.
franchise.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about Eichel a lot last episode, but
Yeah.
Skinner just got his, first goal?
He was scratched for however long.
Yeah, and it's just, as much as people are saying the Louis Eriksson contract's tough, like, Skinner was a great player. I don't know what's happened to him. Like, I think he had a couple concussions, maybe?
COVID,
Like,
maybe?
and I don't think he
9
was out
million
on
per
Zibanejad was
year.
out on COVID-related things, and now he's kind of he only has 3 goals now, just scored his 3rd against Pittsburgh, but he's starting to kind of pick up a little. But, I mean, it's tough when you see, like, as much as, like, I get mad, like, obviously if it's my team that would, like, suffer a bad contract, you kind of feel bad for the players in the sense where it's like, because all you know is the fans are hating them now for not living up to the deal, when it's like they've been great players, but now they're just kind of struggling and can't get it done. Like Louis Eriksson with all the concussion post syndromes, and now you have like the Jeff Skinner deal. We had the Backus deal, unfortunately, that just didn't work out and stuff. And so it's just you can't really make the trade for Taylor Hall just for multiple reasons, but one could dream. But apparently, Kyle, that Instagram site I always look at for source stuff because they just reshare other journalist things. Puck Empire is the name. They were saying apparently the Devils might be considering making Paul Mary available, who the Bruins have always been asking about. And so that would take a decent amount too, just because of how they value him. But getting a little bit more into some of that trade stuff, one guy actually now who essentially was the 13th forward and on his last chance at the beginning of the season, I think Anders Bjork has been impressive this year. Like, he hasn't scored much, right? But he's playing with like intensity and speed. He's very good on the forecheck right now, and I think he's playing well. And I don't think it's wise to move him at the moment. As tough as it is, I would rather trade him than lose him in fantasy. Not fantasy. Why do I keep saying that?
Yeah, fantasy.
Fantasy expansion. I don't know why I keep changing. Expansion draft. Well, it's the fantasy team right now because they're not there yet, Seattle. But same time, if you trade him before Seattle, it's like then you have to give up someone else to Seattle. So it's almost like a necessary evil.
Yeah.
But do we want to – I mean, you guys have any other thoughts on that? I was going to kind of get into how there's a big name scratched for tonight's game and how Bjork is actually kind of keeping his spot where –
We could tie that like into it, I think. Also, hot take. Can we get a hot take alert?
Hot take.
With like some air horns and other such things. But yeah, I kind of disagree with you, Chris.
Okay.
Frick.
Holy wow.
All right, well, no, I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Bjork just hasn't really been that impressive to me. Like, I mean, like his speed is good, and like that's like cool. But what I look for in like a depth player is more someone who really seems to like make a difference more when they're on the ice. Like when I think of a depth player, I think like my idea depth player is like on the Bruins, Sean Corrali. He is, every time he's on the ice, like that fourth line just works so well together, and I feel like he's one of the ones who helps tie it together. Like,
it's funny that you mentioned Corrali because you were harping on him the other day.
Yeah, and then also I was just going to bounce off that. I mean, Corrali has like actually been scratched for like the last game, maybe 2 straight, but the last game I actually.
Well, when he's good, or like.
When and I actually am going to say like kind of countering what you just said there too. Like yeah, I understand what you're saying with Bjork, and like. But clearly, he's shown enough for Cassidy to want to keep him in the lineup with like doing some stuff right. Obviously, because if Cassidy was saying you're on your last chance and you're in and out of the lineup, because I don't think you're consistent enough. The fact he's been keeping him in has been showing that he's playing well enough for Cassidy's liking.
Yeah.
But I mean, as much as I love Corrali, I think this has been his worst season with us so far because he's taken some dumb penalties. He's had a lot of bad turnovers. Like the last game we played at the Islanders. He had a very soft play on the boards that didn't get out and it eventually led to a goal and stuff. And so I love him. Like obviously, like him and Frederick are eventually like essentially the 2 pieces that came out of the Martin Jones aspect of the Lucic deal in that sense because it was like the Martin Jones, Colin Miller, and first round pick, and then it ended up turning into a first round pick, Colin Miller. Corrali and eventually Frederick, and then the first round pick ended up being Zaboral. So it essentially ended up being Colin Miller, Zaboral, Corrali, and Frederick for Lucic and stuff. But I want Corrali to rebound. He is back in the lineup tonight against the Islanders at 7. And that is today as of March 9th. We know this won't be airing today. It will be airing sometime closer to the end of this week. But he's playing, and so is Bjork. They're both on the fourth line with Wagner. A few games ago, that was a really effective fourth line and stuff. And so...
Well, here's my take on that. See, I feel like Cassidy sees... It's not that Cassidy is more satisfied with the way that Bjork is playing. I feel like Cassidy sees more of a potential in Bjork to help the team, but... he doesn't really know where to put Bjork to help bring that potential out because I'm sure he sees like almost traces of it in his play, probably a lot more in practice than in actual games. But
True.
Bjork has been in every single line on this team within the past year. He has been up with Bergeron and Marchand when Pasternak was out.
Starting the year, yeah.
He has been on the third line with Coyle and
Craig Smith or Ritchie.
Yeah, Craig Smith or Ritchie. I don't remember when he was on the second line, but I'm sure he was.
Recently, I think.
Yeah. And
but they were all very short stints too, not enough to have decent consistency, but at the same time to get something out of it.
But now he's on the bottom line. And I don't call me on this. I'm not sure if it's actually true or not, but I do remember seeing somewhere that Cassidy was quoted in saying that he likes Bjork, but he doesn't know like where his role is on the team, and it's like getting frustrating trying to figure out where they can put him where he can actually start really producing.
That's what I was saying with he's running out of chances.
Yeah.
Like he was not playing consistent enough to even have a certain spot to keep, and so it was just like you're running out of options.
Because I feel like he is starting to run out of chances, and I feel like we're getting to the point where if we do see someone get moved, I'd rather it be like Bjork than anyone else.
We need to see numbers.
Yeah.
And as a numbers guy, 3 points in 21 games
for Bjork.
I don't care. I don't care about the intangibles that you bring. I want to see points on the board.
Speaking of the intangibles, what does he bring other than those 3 points? Really, anything other than?
I think I'm still Team Bjork in the sense where I think we still have some time to see him do stuff. Like he's kind of like, for lack of better terms, not the same player, but in a way similar to the new Paille, a little bit lesser offensively, but he's got the speed. But he is very strong on the forecheck. He's getting better with it ever since both those shoulder surgeries on opposite shoulders. I think it's just now that he's had time to like not be so in and out randomly in the lineup without consistency, at least around the team chemistry, it has helped in that sense. But yeah, no, I understand the points thing and stuff. And like within the coming weeks, obviously by April 12th, I think it is, we're going to see if he's going to stay with the team or if he's going to get moved. But going back to what you're talking about with running out of chances because of points and not being there enough, let's talk about the not shock, but the big kind of statement for tonight's game. Jake DeBrusk being a healthy scratch for tonight's game. And granted, he started the season injured. He didn't really have a lot of time to start the season. So I understand that aspect, but through 17 games, he only has 5 points, 1 goal. And he's a -4. And so it's like he's had really hot streaks and really poor cold streaks. And it's just, you guys talk about like the frustration with Bjork that like Cassidy has with Bjork. I think he's starting to get that same thing with DeBrusk, which is just like really tough because like people were thinking he's going to be like the new like kind of goal scorer for the team, like to kind of carry on that after all the older players leave, and finally be the guy that Krejci could have since like Lucic and Horton. But even then, they've like thrown him on the top line with Bergeron and Marshy, and put Pasta down on the second line to kind of even out scoring, try and get DeBrusk involved, try and get Krejci with a good scoring winger, and
they're
he's also been dropped down to the third line
for whatever reason.
And then they're trying to put him down on the third line with Coyle and stuff too. And so it's just, and I think the really interesting thing, whenever it comes up soon, is I don't know if you have. Sorry, we're making you work a lot, stat guy.
Oh no, I love it.
Is there a certain turnaround time yet on Andre Kasha? Because I think when he's healthy, that's going to be really interesting because it's like which of him, DeBrusk, or Bjork, and or even to some degree Studnicka or Corrali, which of them are going to be kind of like on a nightly basis kind of bumped out if they want to have like a certain guy in for certain scenarios and stuff.
According to CBS, there is no update on his timetable, but he is continuing to skate on his own. Again, upper body injury.
Concussion, I think it was. They didn't say.
From Eric Russo, the Bruins official site.
Okay.
So, you want to start with our takes on who we should do with what?
Yeah, you talking trade wise or just like scratch wise, roster overall?
In general,
all right,
I think we can go.
It's a very Bruins oriented episode. Granted, we are Bruins fans, so
I'll take the reins from the start.
Let's hear it.
I think that Bjork is like I said, one of those guys that probably shows promise, but just doesn't work with this team. And maybe he'd work somewhere else, like a Nola Chari type, where he goes to a new team and suddenly he becomes like
back-to-back hat
3 hat tricks,
back-to-back hat tricks. Nola Chari,
Bruins legend.
But so I feel like Bjork is probably one of those players we could work into a trade. If we want to look for like a really good second left wing, I think that if Jake DeBrusk isn't working with Cassidy, or if he's not really like giving it all out there, which could
give him to the Sabres.
Yeah, we could give him to the Sabres.
But you want to trade inside the conference, not to jump in but like
that's also a big
in the
factor
division
in it
right
too.
now.
But I feel like not even specifically the Sabres, just to look for someone who maybe is like a little less streaky, because we talked about this like last time, where DeBrusk could be like as more of like a streaky player instead of like a really consistent player. So if it's a matter of effort, like Cassidy's talking about, I feel like maybe then you should move on, but I don't know. It's worked before with Corrali, I feel, where Cassidy's benched a player for a game or two, brought him back, and then they've kind of had a fire under their ass, you know? Like they decided they wanted to play a little harder and came back and worked well for them. So I want to see that for DeBrusk because I like him as a player. He wouldn't be my first choice to move, and I kind of don't want to see us let him go after we just signed him too.
Yeah, I agree.
But hopefully that works itself out. And on moving who out for what, I don't know. I feel like keeping Studnicka is probably a good idea. He's young gun, showing that he can play with the big boys, you know. So I feel like having him in the lineup pretty regularly is pretty good.
And he can play center too. We've seen wing and center.
Mm-hmm. I like having Corrali. I'm Corrali biased.
Yeah.
But I don't know who else we'd. I like Corrali and maybe someone, I don't know, on the fourth line. Maybe Studnicka on the fourth line, or maybe if he's playing a little better and we need either a second or third line center, we could bring him out there. I don't know, but
it's so weird for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Are you more of a Kuhlman guy, Vitor, or are you a?
I want to see Kuhlman.
I'm not as huge of a Kuhlman fan. I haven't really been that impressed.
Has he played at all this season?
Like a couple
one
games,
two games max.
He's
like the 14th forward right now. He's down in Providence. Or no, is he hurt? Or is he taxi squad?
He's taxi squad because it doesn't say on the stats.
Yeah.
Because I'm the stat guy.
Just if you forgot.
I can't see it in the stats.
But the last time I've seen consistent scoring in terms of I know what I'm going to get from you. Like, you have your Sean Thorntons. Like, I don't expect much of you. If you score a goal or two, that'd be great.
That's going to be a highlight goal if you score, though. Remember that Winnipeg penalty shot?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the stat because you see your Marchand, you see your Bergeron, you Pasta. Nick Ritchie's the only surprise. Craig Smith, 4 goals. I was kind of expecting a little bit more out of Craig Smith. But
okay. Still early, and they've moved him around between Krejci and Coyle a good amount because of some injuries.
But what Craig Smith brings to the table may not be goals, but he brings shots on net.
Yes.
Which is very important.
Very good 5-on-5 guy. That's why one of the, I think, top 5 in 5-on-5 over the last few years. That's why we picked them up.
So maybe if he's not scoring, I'm not worried about Craig Smith. Just my opinion on that.
I'm looking at the 2011-2012. Was it the Cup run or was it
for what, the penalty shot for?
No, the Bruins Cup run, or was it 2010?
2013 was Blackhawks.
No.
Which one?
The one where we actually won the Cup?
2011.
Yeah, 2011.
10-11.
10-11.
Okay, 10-11.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at the goals because I remember that team being loaded with people who either had like what?
That was Lucic's best goal season, I think.
He had 30.
Yeah.
But that team also, I think any team that involved Julian coaching, there wasn't that high 70 score, or that even like in the 60s range. You have your 50s in place.
Yeah, I think
more well-rounded.
Krejci led the team in like 60 something, late like high 60s or low 70 points.
He had 75 games played for Krejci, 62 points.
Okay,
but again, plus minus. Oh boy, that team! You know you have a good team when plus minus is like the end all be all, because you're not only getting production from your forwards or your defensemen, but you're getting, again, like I said, the defense there from goalies. Because Tim Thomas, favorite Bruin of all time.
Not to get off topic while you're looking at this, but in your opinion, because I have my answer, I think pretty quickly actually.
Yeah.
Out of the 3 Bruins teams that have gone to the Cup in this like last decade-ish, the 2011 team, the 2013 team, and the 2019 team, which one's your favorite roster? Like I guess for me,
get started.
For me, like, just maybe it's because I'm partial to them because this is like the first or the second full season that I watched hockey, but the 2013 team for me was like my favorite roster the Bruins had, arguably other than the following 2014 President Trophy winning roster, because you had a lot of the team remaining from the 2011 team still. A good amount, not a lot, but like a good amount. You still had, at the time, the core 7 of like Bergeron, Marchand, Krejci, Chara, Rask, McQuaid, and Seidenberg, and then you also had Ferentz and Chris Kelly and Peverly. But then you had the guys like Sagan with a bigger role. You had Horton still. You had like Lucic and stuff still.
Yeah.
Riley
and then
Smith.
No, that was the following.
Wait,
because Sagan was still on the team.
2012?
No, the 2013, the lockout shortened against Blackhawks. We traded Sagan after that Cup.
Okay, so.
And then, me being biased, the fact that we brought in one of my favorite players of all time at the deadline, having Jágr, even though I wish he could have contributed more, it just didn't work out. But the fact that he was like on that team too for a roster, it was just, for me, that was like my favorite Bruins roster as an overall collective. And then the 2019 team I really liked too. 2011, obviously, because we won, but like, and I loved Thomas was like a different version of Hasek in a way, because like very unorthodox with his style. But for me, like that, I didn't really start watching hockey until like that playoff run, where they in the conference finals when they played Tampa and then went to Vancouver and won. But I loved that 2013 team and stuff. I thought it was a good amount of like scoring talent and grit, and it's just like I think we're starting to find a little bit more of that balance again, especially with like the 2018 merging into 2019 again after the brief rebuild and stuff. But
wow, wait, let's look at Thomas's Vezina Trophy winning season of 2010-2011. 35 wins, 11 losses, 9 OT losses. His goals against average was a straight 2. Save percentage to 938. He had 9 shutouts. 9 shutouts. Like,
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Over how many games played?
55 games started.
All right.
He's pulled twice.
Jeez.
Just because of games played being 57. Or he was in the game.
Yeah.
But, oh my God.
So I'm going to assume your favorite of the bunch was the 2011 because of Thomas.
Yeah, I think what made Thomas really like stand out for me was his size.
Yeah.
And
not that big.
Not that big, and that's what made it easier for him to play that unorthodox, kind of like flashy, kind of like in your face, and it was so entertaining to watch. And again, what we're looking at, these like cup teams that like either won the cup or made the cup are the plus minus players. We had for the cup, is it the cup team? Yeah, the cup team. We had probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players with plus minus above 20. That's just, again, it's just I think for that is an indicator of how good the team is.
Compare that to the 2013 team.
Just 13, 14?
12-13.
It's going to be a lot different because
it's a shorter season.
Yeah.
But like even still, just feel like
Vitor, if you could give yourself
a plus minus
number, what would it be?
Like, I know if I were to be on a team, I'd give my best on defense.
No, just not even relating to hockey, not relating to anything, just in general for yourself, what is your plus minus?
Like a 7.
+7.
+7.
+7? All right.
Yeah.
Chris?
I get to think. What about you?
I mean, I'd be a +7 on like a team filled with like over 30s.
I'm just like a 2. No, not even on a team. Just you're in life in general. What is your plus minus at this very moment?
Okay, in life, I think I'm a +30.
I think I'm like a 2 either way. Like it just depends on the day.
I was gonna say like a +4, +5.
I mean, I don't have class tomorrow.
+2, -2 for me, depending on the day.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah,
I had 2 sleepless nights last week, so I was like a -20 on those.
God.
-24 hours.
2013, 2014.
No, the season before.
No, but I just want to look at this.
The President Trophy winning team was clutch too with a Ginla. That was.
Let me.
While he's looking at
2003 NHL cover athlete Jerome McGinley, Calgary jerseys with the horse on it, fire.
But
while he's pulling these up on the screen, we got them right here.
Do you want me to go?
That's like the season we had the most, I think, leaders in plus minus.
Yeah.
With Chara like really up there too, +25 for a D-man at his age. And who?
Matt Barkowski. I
Yeah.
just saw.
Bruins legend.
Bruins legend Matt Barkowski.
Look at that depth.
Out of the 3 teams, 2011, 13, and 19, which one's your favorite? Would you say?
So I liked hockey when I was younger. I wasn't as like huge of a fan as I am now. So I'd say on a level of investment to the teams, I was most invested in the 2019 team.
No, I agree with that.
Because I got into hockey like and watching it really, really closely at the end of high school. And so the most invested I was in the 2019 team, I'd say my favorite team probably like player-wise is 2011. Back when we had like guys like Lucic, my favorite all-time Bruin.
Yeah.
And
Thomas,
and you had Bergie and Krejci while in there like Prime and Marshy.
Michael Ryder was an awesome X factor.
Yeah.
73. I don't think. I mean, besides McAvoy's ringing the number. I think the first player that comes to mind when I see 73 is Michael Ryder.
Yeah.
Sniper.
Yeah.
Clutch with clutched and the save.
Oh, the kick save.
Again,
the glove.
Just my favorite player. Like those are like those. Thinking about that team, it's one of my favorite teams to like imagine playing.
Yeah.
Like and imagine like in a perfect situation, but like yeah. I was a lot more invested in the 2019 team, and it also hurt probably the most watching that Game 7.
Yeah.
Just like not to bring up bad memories.
No, I hear you because we've had a decent amount. And for me, I get what you're saying with investedness.
Yeah.
For me, I was most invested with that lockout team, the 2013 team, because granted we were younger, I was 14. I cried when we lost Game 6. Whereas 2019 Game 7, I was just utterly disappointed.
Yeah, I turned I turned the TV off and just kind of left, went upstairs.
Yeah. And so for me, I mean, because especially the reason I think the 2013 team hurt so much to me is because that's when we had the miraculous comeback against the Leafs, and then we knocked out the Rangers in 5, making McAvoy pissed in that tweet.
Oh, yeah.
And then obviously sweeping Pittsburgh, which was even for Bruins fans was a shock. Pittsburgh was always a powerhouse.
I remember watching every game. I was at this restaurant called Framingham Beer Works, and me and my
shout out Framingham Beer Works.
Shout out. Yeah.
No, but shout out to Edison too. He's been amazing. He's not a hockey fan per se, doesn't really know much about the sport, but he's a good friend of mine, and he's done a lot for. While I edit the audio initially and all that stuff and send it to him, he puts it together with the video and puts all the graphics together. So for those watching and listening, props to him for all he's been doing for us to help us out, make this as good as it has been so far.
Edison, just drop your Venmo on the screen right now.
Edison, I'll buy you a coffee roll if you cut out the part where I'm screaming at Vitor about sharing a screen. I don't need that out in the public.
Can you let that sit? Can you let that sit?
What?
Can we let that sit?
Yeah, we're not going to let that sit.
Dang it.
Not to have a rough transition back, but we were starting with you talking about the whole who stays, who goes between the odd bunch of players. It's not I think I was for me, I'm more thinking it's not necessarily one of those 5 are going to be traded. It's just who's going to be in and out of the lineup. I think really the only guys who are going to be kind of potentially the trade bait guys are people thank you for the lights, sir.
And he said, "Let there be light."
Let there be rock. But so getting back to the trade thing, I think the only guys who are potentially the tradeable players, I'd say, are either DeBrusk, Bjork, or Kasha.
Yeah.
But and so,
do you really think Kasha is that tradable though?
No, I don't. But here's
in trading in.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I can't talk.
Here's the thing I'm thinking, right? And so Nashville right now, we know Ekholm is the highest ranked trade bait piece right now. Really good top 4 D man. Any contender would want to pick him up for this run. Forsberg's name's starting to get thrown into the mix. There's another name I just recently saw that could potentially work in our favor if we're trying to bring in a good middle 6 forward, but not break the bank and maybe only give up a guy potentially Bjork and a pick. Victor Arvidsson. That's not a name you usually think of initially when you look at Nashville, but compared to Forsberg, a lot more affordable. And he's 27, right? 5'9", 180, not a big frame, but he's got 12 points through 25 games on a tough team, -3, but he was really good in their 2017 playoffs and stuff. And his contract's sitting at 4.25 per year. I don't know how much left he has on it. I don't know when it ends. But if you want to think of trade stuff, I don't want to trade DeBrusk right now. I still think he has a lot more to bring. Similar with in my opinion with Bjork, he's not going to bring the same amount as DeBrusk does points wise. But if it comes to the point where it's you have 2 inconsistent players, as tough as it's to say, you almost want to trade the one who has a little bit more trade value in that sense too. And it's a tough thing. It's obviously. That's why I'm happy I'm not making these decisions. But you could potentially have something involved where you bring in a guy like Arvidsson to play maybe on Krejci's right side, who can be. He's a smaller build, but he is speedy and has a scoring touch. If you pair a guy like that, maybe with the big body of Ritchie and then Krejci as the playmaker in the middle, that could potentially be a respectively formidable punch to follow up the perfection line. And so it's just if I'm the Bruins, I do knock and ask Nashville because it looks like Nashville's selling house and stuff. Other than
burning
the
the barn.
Yeah, and so I think it'd be our good due diligence for Sweeney to kind of just ask about all those players. Forsberg and Hall, I think, are both out of touch for us, contract wise, and also just based off our prospect pool right now and our draft picks and how he never really wants to give up the future to bring in a player unless he absolutely has to. And so, like, I think it's more realistic with a player like Arvidsson to give up lesser of a big pick. Maybe it's like you give up a guy like Bjork, and even it's tough to say about like a second or a third, or it's just like a DeBrusque for Arvidsson and a pick back this way and stuff. And so it's like, granted, I'd have to look in closely more to see how each guy's kind of valued on the other side, because I don't want to get too deep into like proposals and be like having all the people in the comment section be like, oh, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
We
like,
trade DeBrusque, Tenardi for Crosby, along with Malkin.
Are you
Cap.
off a rock?
Cap.
I am off Iraq.
Both cap and salary cap.
I think it worked.
Vitor H.W. Bush over here.
I think we could do
Iraq.
But someone had like made an article about how the Bruins, when Pittsburgh was in their crazy kind of like whirlwind down, saying that the Bruins should have went after Crosby. As much as I would love that, it doesn't make sense because of salary cap for one, but also who we'd have to give up. You'd have to give up a great player just to get him. Even
Also,
though he's
would the
not.
Penguins even be willing to give him?
No,
up?
they wouldn't. They said
Yeah,
they're not
exactly.
trading him, and like I don't know why that thing was even made, because it just made whoever said it like dumb in the article. But
Someone else was off a rock at the same time.
yeah,
as
and so
Vitor.
it's just like, sure, it helps that he played together with like Berge and Marshy, but it's just not like logistic in that sense. And so I mean, if we want to think about like, what were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, if you guys want to start like kind of in your spot right now where we sit, like about a month and a half out from the the trade deadline, it's like, what do you do if you're the Bruins? Because obviously I agree with you, we need more scoring touch, but with all these defensive injuries, I think we need a D guy too. So if you're like Sweeney,
more of a seasoned D guy.
it's getting close to, say, the deadline. What are you thinking? Who are you willing to offer up to get someone else back? Like, what do you like? What's your mindset? What are you thinking for pieces involved?
Stat guy, you want to go?
No, I want to apologize, but my food is
It is ready. Stat guy, if you want to finish off real quick before you head out.
I want to leave one final hot take for everyone, but I think that the Bruins, it's not really a hot take, but a segment for you too to ponder about, but we shouldn't be looking for a goal scorer for the foreseeable future, but a true playmaker. I'm talking about another Krejci, but at the wing, because there seems to be just the top three. Okay, cool, perfection line. Oh, perfection line. Like, shut up. Like, shut up. But we need another.
Shut your mouth.
We need a player who can rack up the assists and just put pressure on the puck, forecheck, dump the puck. Dump the puck, all that. But for real,
No, yeah, I
think
Get pucks deep. Got to make plays.
You
Got to
gotta
make
show them
plays on the
that.
back end.
dump and chase.
I gotta put pressure on the goaltender.
Get shots on net. Pucks on net.
Thank you for that take, Stat Guy.
And I will leave.
And as we close with Stat Guy, us remaining podcasters will speculate on that. I do agree in that sense that, yeah, we shouldn't be going after, like, the, like, gem.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense for, like, what we have right now for a prospect pool, for draft picks, and for salary cap without... We want to build this team up. We don't want to take away from the team to add a piece. Like,
You want to build a team who can win, but it can also has some longevity to it.
win now, but also set
Yeah.
for the future. I agree. And so...
So I think the best way to accomplish this is to look for a seasoned like D-man, because there's no arguing, like, yeah, it's good to have like a young core of like defensemen, but like also we're getting to the point where like some experience would help, especially playoff experience. So maybe some guy who's been there before who can kind of offer up that essence of what it like, that essence of the team, like knowing like how to handle situations, that's dealt with the pressure before, maybe of like going to the playoffs and like just dealing with that in general. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I feel like that's something we should look for, and maybe someone we can throw on a third line at right wing or something like that.
And so going off of that, like another fever dream, because you'd be killing two birds with one stone in one deal, but it would probably take a first-round pick involved, which would just mean Sweeney's not interested. But
Yeah.
that's where I almost feel like Sweeney should be asking what it's going to take to get Ekholm and Arvidsson in a package, because you'd be fulfilling a good. He's 30, Ekholm, but like still, like he's got a year left after this.
Yep.
So sure, he'd be older, but a guy who's been to the Cup Finals, had a lot of playoff experience, been there before, like you were saying.
So
and then also you have.
We're just trading everyone to Nashville or picking up all of Nashville's kind of like sloppy seconds. At
But
this
then,
point.
yeah, and then you'd have Arvidsson, who's also been in the Cup Final and lost. A guy who's still like in his prime age-wise, according to the league, and who could easily be either the second-line right wing or the third-line right wing. And so it's like at that point you can move Smith to Krejci, or you can put Arvidsson with Krejci or something. And so like I almost feel like it would take a lot. DeBrusk would probably have to go back the other way if you're trying to get both those guys,
Yeah.
which is tough to say. But like, I don't know, if you're thinking about like, again, it's not saying I want to do this trade. I'm just trying to think what could potentially help if DeBrusk has trade value right now and he's not going to be consistent enough. You could potentially have the whole setup of like, say playoff time when the Bruins are healthy, like everyone's healthy. You have Bergeron, Marshy, Pasta, top line. You have Krejci, Ritchie, let's say Arvidsson on the second. Then you have Coyle, Frederick, Smith, which has just been consistent. And then Corrali, Bjork, and Wagner. Or maybe Bjork's not there. Maybe he's part of that deal too, DeBrusk and Bjork.
Yeah.
And maybe it's someone like another like left-handed shot. And maybe it's Corrali actually on the wing, Studnicka at center, and then Wagner on the wing. And then you potentially have a pair like Ekholm and McAvoy, Grzelcyk and Carlo, and then either Zaboral or Lozon with Miller and or Clifton and stuff. And so that team looks pretty decent on paper and stuff. And so, again, I'm going to like start looking more into the trade stuff now that we're getting a month out. Obviously, we'll put a lot more to the table like in the future episodes about who we think is going to go where, what teams are going to offer for other things around the league, and then also focus on the Bruins side of it too. But I don't know, like how do you think about that sense if you're Sweeney? Do you try and like do that kill two birds, one stone aspect of trying to ask about Ekholm and Arvidsson as a package deal, or do you like not even go there because it's probably going to be you're going to be getting something which is nice, but you'd be giving up something decent as well? Like, do you even consider that? Do you look into it at least, or do you just avoid it altogether?
If I'm a GM, I look at everything.
Yeah.
Like, I look at every single offer that's on the table. Doesn't mean I'm going to make them. Doesn't mean I'm going to set anything in stone. But it's definitely a good idea to look at what your options are, what you're going to have to give up, what everyone wants. And then if a deal sounds good, I feel like a good GM can also negotiate down a little bit so that everyone ends up getting what they want, you know?
Right.
So I feel like definitely you should look into, like, because if Nashville's selling and they're selling good players and you can get them at a decent price that's not going to cost you too much, not going to affect your future too much, I'd say go in on Nashville. Otherwise, if you can get two guys at once, do it. If you can't, look for your look for the best bet somewhere else. You know?
Vitor just missed that.
Yeah, I'd be clowned right now. Clown me. Edison, can you clown me real quick? But no, yeah, I feel like
No, I hear what you're saying.
If you can get one of those guys, like say you get a forward, but you can't get the D-man. Look who's the next best available D-man and what you can get for it. Or if he's not the next best, then look for the next best affordable D-man. Same way goes the other way around, you know?
No, I'm with you there 100% because you're not doing due diligence and doing things right if you're not going to at least ask about everything.
Yeah.
Because, yes, you don't want to give up an arm and a leg, but sometimes making a statement move affirms to the rest of the league that you mean business and that you're trying to put that extra piece together to win. I mean, I don't know why like this trade always comes into my head because a part of that team. But and that was when I was barely cognizant of what a sport was. But it's either I think it was 2001. I could be wrong. It could be the 1996 run for this team, but Colorado made not a huge deal, but a big deal to make a statement in trying to bolster up their defense before the playoffs when they added Rob Blake, who was a really great D-man at that like mid to late 90s, early 2000s and stuff. Yeah. And so they brought him in, made that statement being like, yeah, we're a team that's meaning business and we're adding this to our team, and it helped them win.
In context with the Bruins as well and the Avs, don't forget about another statement player that they added. One Raymond Bourque, number 77.
Oh, yeah.
What was that, 99 run?
No, it was the 2001, but they added him in the season prior and stuff. And so, yeah, and that too, obviously. But I think Blake was a little bit younger, I think. Could be wrong. I got to check that later. But yeah, both those pieces essentially added some depth and power to their teams. And, I mean, not to the same extent, but look at like Tampa Bay on their like winning season this past year. They went after Barclay Goodrow, gave a first-round pick. Everyone was like, what's going on? But he became essentially one of the missing pieces with also Blake Coleman. Both of them got brought into that third line, and that's the line that made the difference in the playoffs for that team. Yeah. It always seems like it's the third line that makes a difference in the playoffs, which is very strange, even over the second. Like the Coyle, Heinen, and Johansson line, like 2019, made a huge difference and stuff. And so it's deals like that like kind of like put you on the map, essentially being like, all right, this team's trying to do this. We see where they're going. We either get to match that or we feel confident that it's not going to go anywhere. Yeah. And so, yeah, if I'm the Bruins, I at least look at that like kind of thing. Ask for either one of those guys, but I mean, Ekholm might be too much of a price, but so maybe at that point, maybe look about Arvidsson a little bit more. But I'm trying to pull up whatever site it was.
I'd say make a smart move. Don't make a huge move.
No, don't go for a big move unless you think it's going to work long term for your team and stuff. Absolutely. Because it's just Ekholm is going to be the highest priority right now, which means he's going to probably like garner at least a first-round pick or maybe a second and a prospect.
Yeah, and someone like it strikes me as like a Montreal or someone like that who's looking to add a little bit more to their offense as of late would probably look for him. Or like maybe who else is kind of like struggling offensively?
As teams or players?
That's like that could be as a team that could be going for like a cup run. Someone who, if they just had that piece, they'd be a lot more dangerous. Like, that strikes me as, like, Montreal right now.
I feel like even when they were great, it was this team, not Montreal, the team I'm about to mention. Even when the team I'm about to mention was great, they would do that. But even right now when they've dropped off a bit, is always in the mix. Pittsburgh. Yeah. They're always in the mix for, like, adding a player to help out. But, I mean, teams like people are saying Washington's in the market for a goalie right now, which is kind of interesting.
That makes sense.
It does. I mean, I think Vanacek's played well. But they're saying maybe
Vanacek.
Someone like, they're saying maybe someone, whether it be Darcy Kemper or Antti Ranta from Arizona. Both decent goalies.
I think I'd take Kemper.
Yeah.
Kemper for sure.
Be a little bit more like cost in a trade, obviously. But teams I think that like just need like one or two. The team that's surprising to me depends on how they go because they're 6 points up of the team currently behind them in the Central, but they're up by – they have the same amount of games played, but they're up by 6 points. This is Chicago. Can we talk about how Patrick Kane is like second in the league in points right now on a team that was essentially supposed to be not what it normally is? And it still isn't, but yet – he sits at 38 points, only behind McDavid. Like, Draisaitl's one behind him. Granted, he has 27 assists out of the 38 points, but that's already 11 goals there, too. And so it's like, it's impressive what he's doing with that team, which is just, like, really impressive to me. So it's like, everyone thought they were going to be, like, trading Kane or trading everyone else, but like, are they actually going to be a team that's going to make a deal to bring someone in to help them try and stay in the playoffs? That's I think, within the next coming weeks, up to the deadline. That's a team I'm actually looking into for stuff like that. Colorado, also, they have $8 million cap space. They're the team that's always like an odds-on top 5 favorite to win.
Yeah.
But also that's a team that I think is, they make a deal, maybe they're going to go after Taylor Hall at the deadline. And I think if they do,
like when we talked about it last time, yeah.
Yeah, and I think if they do at this deadline, even Minnesota right now, like they're a really big shock turnaround, which is happy for them.
Yeah.
I think maybe even them.
Who's the kid on there that's been playing pretty well this year?
Kaprizov.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kirill the Thrill, the new rookie from Russia.
Yeah.
23 years old or 24. Played in KHL, so it's like Panarin. It's like rookie, but
rookie,
man,
but he's a grown ass man with a grown ass man beard.
Yeah, but yeah. So I think teams like that, I would say, like your teams like Minnesota, Colorado, even like the Panthers in Chicago in their division, and like you said, Montreal for sure.
Yeah,
I think those are your teams, including Boston and maybe Pittsburgh. Essentially, every contender should be thinking about, or any team that's in the rush, like that's close to probably going to be in the playoffs. They're the teams that are going to be going for those deals and trying to reach out to things. So I think, yeah, there's going to be a lot of talks coming in the next 40-ish day or 35-ish days.
Yeah.
And so I think from there, it's definitely
going to be a lot of moves
for sure. I think it's going to be weird in the fact where it's a lot of moves, but it might be a lot of moves. It's going to be forced almost within division, or just Canada is probably only going to have to trade within their division or trade early, like we briefly talked about last time, because of the whole international quarantine thing with difficulties. So I think if you're going to see some trades, I actually think any type of big trade might be made sooner than closer to the deadline. I think it might be made like a week prior or stuff, but we'll wait and see. But
they're going to need to, given that quarantine,
to get the players in and to see how it's going to go. But because we're approaching an hour and a quarter now, any finalizing closing thoughts about things for this week or what we plan to talk about the following week?
No, I feel like we just kind of go over the same thing. Kind of keep track of how the Bruins are doing. Keep an eye on what's going on around the league, and then talk trade stuff. So.
Right, yeah, it just kind of depends on how games are played or how certain little news pops up here and there. And so, yeah, it's like we are called Inside the Box, so we're not like affiliated with a name in the Bruins per se, but being all Bruins fans here, most of what we hear or what you hear and what we talk about is Boston kind of Bruins related info. And so the first episode we were a lot more kind of league wide, obviously opening thing, but just depends, like you said, I think depends on how trades are or just content or topics for the week, whether it be a lot of Bruins news or chatter, or if say like Nashville's going crazy or something next week, or like say like Montreal or Chicago. That's definitely where we can talk more about them too. But no, I'm with you. I think maybe like next week we start kind of like throwing together a little bit more of like trade rumor speculations around the league, who we each put as like our top candidates for the Bruins to go after, and or where we think the overall top guys are going around the league. Who is
the biggest, like who should every team in the league have their eye on in the trade market / free agent market coming up. So we can always do that. But
yeah, and we'll plan it from there. And obviously, those of you who are along for the ride, we'll kind of see where it goes next episode and all that too. But in closing, that's just how it's going to be. We're going to see how stuff keeps changing, seeing if the scoring race changes any bit, see if Kane gets any closer to McDavid or if he starts to plateau off with a Blackhawks team that has been very surprising. And so I guess we're just going to have to wait and see, as we do every week, and we'll see what's in store for us for the remainder of this week with hockey, and we will definitely catch you all up on that this following Tuesday.
This has been Inside the Box.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you soon. And, well, I always say that we won't see you, but you will see us soon, and we look forward to bringing you more content in the following week. And thanks for watching, and stay tuned for future episodes. Take care.
Peace.